All right, this car has been sitting through a week of low 20-degree weather and another week because I was sick, untouched. Let's see how this electrical system hold up. Oh, hey, check that out. Nitro. Cranks right up. This is a good little car. All right, let's go get it in the garage so we can knock out some install. Today, we got a couple installs for Project PrimerBlue. My voice sounds kind of funny, a little off. That's because I'm in recovery. If you hear something right around my teeth, that's cough drops because I have a lingering cough. But on the mend, let's go ahead and see if we can't take care of the big install, which is going to be the Power by the Hour Speed Drive kit. All right, so laid out right here, I have the Power by the Hour Speed Drive or Front Runner. I think they go back and forth. It changes, I'm not sure. But basically, for this little coyote swap, one of the symptoms that we're getting is it doesn't seem like the power steering's doing anything. So you have no steering assist whenever we're driving slow, and the brakes don't feel like they're getting power assistance either. And you need that because that's a hydro boost setup, which is kind of piggybacked. Now, a part of the install is cross your fingers that all the lines are routed properly. They're going to the right orifices for the rack and for the hydro boost. I sure hope so, because if they're not, I'm not sure what effect that is, if it would have that effect of no assist or things like that. I'm gonna probably look that up, but I don't intend on taking any of the lines off of the rack or the hydro boost setup, just off whatever electric pump deal they have tucked away here behind the fender, the bumper. That's the general plan. We're gonna keep this power steering reservoir. It's in a good spot. It's a good reservoir. Then we're gonna replace it with this nice mechanical one. This is for SN95 or New Edge Mustang power steering pump, a 4.6 power steering pump. It's going to bolt right on using these brackets provided by Power by the Hour. Let's see. So we have belts that are going to be the right size for us to use a Sandin SD7, the Sandin SD7 AC compressor, along with the belt routing for the alternator relocation. This is all the alternator relocation bracketry, and you will have to remove the clutch style pulley off of the alternator. So that's gonna be that's always a fun one to do. So we gotta get that alternator off. Then you get two more tensioners. Basically, it's just repositioning and getting the tensioning just right for the belt routing. This is for the AC compressor, Sandin one. What was this guy for? AC compressor for, I guess so. One's a slightly different one. Oh, it's just backwards. Never mind. Anyways, we have spare bracketry and spare hardware. I might just kind of toss this on the shelf for maybe an install of someone who needs it or something. But we're gonna use the new stuff for sure. So that's about it. That's kind of the overview of what's getting installed onto the car. Now, what's going to be the process of doing this install? Well, that might be a little bit of a trickier one. So I think we're going to have to loosen this guy, power steering coolant reservoir, and kind of move it out the way, because I'm going to need access to this general area. Intake definitely coming off for sure. Alternator, the belt, all that comes off. Depending on how involved, we might have to remove radiator hose. If hopefully I can kind of sneak my way around and take care of things, because so right here, trying to put my finger on it. This guy, that has to get trimmed down. Like we have to trim that guy down, pretty much flat. So that gets trimmed down. What else? There's a couple things down there that do get trimmed. Once we just clear all this out, there will be there's I think 3 items that need to be grinded down flat. I'm going to be using just a grinder with a cutoff wheel on it, very carefully, okay? Because keep in mind, I don't know if you remember on my car, I sliced into it and that sprays oil all over your engine bay. So we don't want to do that. We want to avoid that. So that's the plan. Got to cut that out. Now, along with the install of the power steering pump, we're going to have to do the removal of whatever this electrical thing is. And there's some wiring, and I'm pretty sure one of these big cables goes to that power steering pump. So that's why the car's kind of lifted up. Not only is it ease of access, so I'm not bending over to make that cut, but we have this lifted up so that I can crawl underneath it to kind of take out some wiring if need be. All the electrical battery is disconnected, so there's no electrical power going throughout the vehicle. That's just kind of a nice safety thing that, especially when you're working on the electrical things, you need to do that. Now, if it didn't have this electric power steering pump, I probably would have left the electrical hooked up, because, you know, but that's quite a heavy gauge wire right there. That's basically directly connected to the battery. So we're not trying to get spicy here, okay? Yeah, guys, forgive me if I sound like I'm doing cardio sessions in between doing all this, because I'm really eager to jump onto the project and work on it, but at the same time, I am still recovering from the flu and strep and all this other nonsense that I caught this past week. But let's get started. Let's go ahead, grab tools, throw some gloves on, and start dismantling some of this front end to what's necessary to be dismantled, and knock this thing out. All right, so this is easy. We're going to take intake off. Well, sorry, PCV valve right there off. We're going to remove this whole tube. So mass airflow unplugged. All right, come on, give me this. What the hell? Oh, took off the wrong thing. Took off that one. Interesting. I do want to point out, one of the installs is going to be a catch can. Look how nasty that looks. Just the gunk, you know? It's like, you know, it's oil residue that gets in through PCV, and you know, that's not good. It's not. Let's see if we can move this coolant. Look at all that room for activities. All right, got a little bit more torn apart so that you guys can see exactly what we're going to be trimming off. So this is the easiest one. We gotta trim this guy down. We have to trim this guy down. And we have to trim this guy down. Okay, and they have to be trimmed to about 1/8 of an inch from the timing cover. Okay, so you got to be careful. This one is probably going to be the toughest, most critical, and highest risk. This guy should be straightforward. There's nothing below it, so you just same with this one. Done, easy. Should be fairly simple. So I need to get my angle grinder with a nice little cutoff wheel, some glasses and gloves to carefully perform a little cosmetic surgery to the timing cover. Now we just got to clean this off a little bit. I think we got it. And I don't feel any holes up here, which is important because that's where oil leaks out. If you cut into it, you don't want to cut into that. So I think I've trimmed that enough. I will find out when we go do our mock-ups. When installing the Power by the Hour Speed Drive / Front Runner kit, what we just did there, which was the grinding and cutting of that timing cover, that's literally the scariest part about the whole install. The rest of the way, it's just going to be bolting things up and making sure the alignment's going. Now, of course, I am following their PDF instructions, which is on their website, very accessible. It is step by step, okay? If you follow this, you should have no problems, okay? I know somehow, some way, there are some people who probably find a way to screw up following the instructions, but seriously, if you follow the instructions, it lays it all out. And anything that has something scary, like cutting a timing cover with an angle grinder and trimming, things that, you know, you can't put back onto the motor permanently, or like you can't undo what you just did. There's no undo button on that one. It's probably best that you read through the instructions before you start the install, and that way you could be sure that, one, you have all the tools, you can weigh your options if you can or cannot do this install, and three, there'll be no surprises when you go to actually perform the installation. So I feel like I needed to say that, you know. That's how you become an adult, you know. I feel like that's where we kind of get to the adult stuff, you know. All right, I already know you're probably not going to see every single one of these bolts, but per the instruction, you're going to remove this bolt. You're going to remove that bolt, which is right on the other side of the throttle body, of course. And there's one right on the other side of the timing cover at the very tippy top, okay? All of them are 10 millimeter. They all got to come out. This is what I was talking about. It's like a stud bolt thing. Because this is a ground, but the little nut that goes on this side is a 10 millimeter, but this is a 13. So the next step is to put these 3 hex stands on. Now, can you spot the difference in these? These two are the same size. This one is longer. Okay, there's a reason for that. They all are the same length, but these are different. Okay, so can you guess how this is going to go? Well, being that this bolt position, this bolt position are on the same plane, they must need 2 of the same, right? And this one that's sucked in might need a longer offset. That's how this is going to work. It's not rocket science. Okay. Now, you're going to be able to read the Power by the Hour Performance, PBHperformance.com. You'll be able to read that text from as if you stood in the front of the engine bay, okay? So I don't know how much simpler to make it for you guys. But yeah, here's also reasons for keeping this loose, you know, so that you can kind of manipulate them a little bit easier. There you go. There it is. This is how the bracket will hold on. Now these two are going to be for our alternator, which we need to go ahead and pull off from the factory location. All right, so I've gotten the alternator off. You can see it straight there on the ground. But we've got to remove this bolt right here that I got my finger on. Obviously, it's that funny, funky head. So you're going to need an E8 socket to get that guy off. That's the proper way. if you're in a bind and you don't have these, I really don't think you're going to be reusing that bolt. So a 12-point sized as best you can probably will get it off. At this time, we're going to take the tensioner that's designated for your passenger side. We're going to go ahead and put this on loosely. Okay, just tight, hand tight, because things may come on, off, trial fit, and all that good stuff, right? All right, so the next step being that you got the bolt off on the driver's side that holds the alternator on, you got the tensioner that went on the passenger side. Next part is to kind of put the alternator on the alternator bracket to then go put it on the car. But before we do that and we change the position of how this thing mounts up, you have to install a clutchless style pulley onto your alternator. This is a clutch style pulley. So if this starts spinning at how you're going to mount it up, the clutch is going to kind of, I don't know if you can see how that, whenever I jerk it back and forth, that it only spins one way, and it doesn't really work out too good. So you'll need decent size impact, something you're gonna have you're gonna pin down by one of these little fins in here, because you're not going to need this to spin. And then you need this to spin counterclockwise. Okay, so let me get awkwardly my hands back here, and then done. Like, zips it off real easy if you have an impact gun. You need a decent impact gun. You can't go use some off-brand, cheap brand that doesn't have torque to do exactly what I just did. Now, if you don't have one of these, okay, you will need this little 17 millimeter hex head guy. You can get them at AutoZone. That's where I got this one. If you don't have the impact, what you're going to end up doing, it's going to be a fight. It's not going to be fun. You're going to wrestle it. It's going to be a pain. Also, you risk kind of damaging the blades and stuff. So that's why this decent impact that I mentioned again, it's really nice to have this. So, but if you don't have this, you're going to put this guy in a vise so it doesn't move. You're still going to use the same flathead to pin down in the little blade down there inside, so the alternator doesn't spin. And you basically got to crank this thing with this guy. And if it's an untouched stock alternator like this one was, it's not going to be fun. Okay, that's all I can say. That's my best advice. If you got a buddy who's got an impact, go borrow the impact. There won't be a fight. It'll be totally worth you bartering for a beer. I need this guy more. Take this, drop that right on top. Go ahead and unbundle these. I like the packaging that PBH does. Shout out to Power by the Hour. When you call and you make these orders and you tell them exactly what you have and what you need, freaking man, those guys get it. Those guys get it. All right. Let's get that, put that back on our impact real quick. Yeah, of course. All right. There you go. We are on there, locked tight, good to go. Now, so also in the same little shrink packaging. The shrink packaging that came with the hex head studs that should be on the motor right now. Your bracket is going to be your hardware, okay? So right off the bat, we're gonna take these nylon lock washers, or nylon lock nuts. Sorry, not washers, but nylon lock, you can see it right there, yeah. So there's 3 of these guys. We're gonna take those and put them off to the side. That is what's gonna bolt to the these guys. That bolts the whole assembly to the motor. So you're not gonna need these right there. Need those right now. So but on the other guy, where'd they go? I just had them. Oh, those underneath. Other side, okay, you're gonna take this guy off. This one is actually, let's see, so I think one of these guys is threaded. Yeah, this is threaded. So this nut right here is actually going to go to this bolt, pretty sure. Because, and I say that because, I think they just did that for packaging purposes, because this one's got a nut, but you need this spacer to go right here. So this spacer is going to go drop right in right here. Oh, and then the bracket, of course. Yeah, duh, you dummy. You need the bracket. That's why you don't have the bracket on here. So the bracket, because your pulley, this side on the pulley side is going to be the motor. So, which means you're going to need to read, you know, because basically I'm going to be looking at the back of the alternator. Back of the alternator is where the front of the end of the car is going to be. So I need the lettering to be, you know, legible toward the rear of this guy. And you're going to install this kind of on this front spot. Okay. Let's take this guy off. This guy right here, that's actually kind of a long bolt. I wonder if there's more to it, but we might learn together and find out. Long bolt. I'm gonna put this on the pulley side, because if there's gonna be excess, I don't want the excess to be, oh, of course, I need the damn spacer to go in between. All right. If I want any excess, I don't want it to be on the, sorry, you can't even do that because the thread end is over here, dummy. Nice and snug and tight, because this is probably not coming off anytime soon. Okay, so now this is on. We got our hex bolt things that are in the timing cover. Let's go ahead and take this whole assembly and go see if we cut away what we needed to, or do we need to cut more away for clearancing so we have no interference when it comes to our alternator and spinning and things like that. So this is how the new position of the alternator will mount on. Don't worry, I'm just trying to see, did we cut everything we needed to? Oh, no, we're good. We're good on the bottom. We are good on the bottom. All right, so these are the belts that will come with the kit. They're the right size. These are the belts that was supposed to be sent when we had ordered this kit. However, for this install, I will not be installing the air conditioning compressor because I will not be doing the air conditioning work. I'm just not fully equipped to get the whole thing running, and also just not super familiar, so confidence level's a little low. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to, this right here, this is the compressor kit for the sand-in compressor that I have right here, which I sold the owner of PrimerBlue, which sold him my old one. This is basically my old one. Never been used, still in the box. So there's his bracket kit to bolt it to the motor. And he would then use this 52.5-inch belt. That's what he would use for that for that side of the belt loop. But for what we're going to do today is I went to AutoZone. This is what I use for my for my car, my Mustang outside, because I have no AC. Is I use a Duralast 380K 6 belt, which is basically 38-inch long belt that's 6 rib. So that's what we're going to put on this guy and bolt that alternator up. Is you absolutely have to have this belt be put on first, okay? Because the last thing you need is to try and hold an alternator and then, you know, try and fumble it around. Now that we got boom, belt, bada bing, bada boom, belt. Okay, cool. So now this tensioner will need to drop down, okay? We are going to try to have at least one of these guys on. Good. Nice and secure. All right, got the power steering pump bracket on. I did not video it. However, let me at least tease you with what I had to do to get it on. So this bracket is a very tight fit. So I started with this one, real easy. This is the smaller bolt. It threads right into the timing cover. And then this guy, the aluminum, it's a super tight fit. So you get yourself a little dead blow hammer. And then basically I used my ratchet to walk the bolt and get the bracket kind of into place and things like that. So that's pretty much what I had to do to get this guy on. But it is now on. Expansion coolant tank back on. Because passenger side of this whole assembly is kind of done. Power steering pump's on. Power steering pump is bolted up. I did have to remove this fitting to tighten that bolt, but that was fairly easy. That's a -6. As well as we got this tensioner on. So now, time to go grab the belt. Again, I'm not doing cardio between these, but this one was actually pretty tough. This tensioner was tight. This belt is tight. As you can hear, you could probably play a tune with how tight that thing is. So, belt is on. Next is to start hooking things back up. Alrighty, so let's do a little bit of a recap because a couple things happened. I needed full concentration, so I couldn't really do the stop and go video. But the alternator's all hooked up. Wiring's good. Everything's pretty much good for alternator side. Zip tied, everything's snug, secure. Now we moved over here. As you can see, we've removed the reservoir and I've got a power steering pump kind of fell out. So I've never seen this thing before. It looks interesting. No idea exactly what it is, where it comes from, what it does. But obviously that is supply. This one I think is a low pressure, but I think this is the pump. I'm pretty sure this is a pressure out. That's why that would have an AN line sitting on it. So I'm assuming. I'm thinking this might be the return from the Hydro Boost system, I believe. I'm not positive on that, but I'll need to verify some of that stuff. So then kind of under here, I'm gonna let it drip and dry, drip and stuff. So this guy is gonna go to the -6 over here on the bottom of the pump. And I then need to hook up the dash, I think that's -8. I'll have to measure that one. But I think that's -8, which is going to be supply. And I'll need to purchase a line for sure to go from there and pop up through that little hole right there, which is, because I'm going to try and keep it right there. That's a good spot for it. Along with, I have to get rid of this hose barb. We're not gonna have a hose barb. We're gonna put an AN line there, or AN fitting, because that's gonna be silly. I'm like, yeah, that's just gonna be silly. Anyways, that's the game plan. Or actually, I might need to get a Y to go with it, or a T to go with it, to try and plumb. I don't know. I gotta figure out how to plumb that other low pressure side that's gonna come from the Hydro Boost, because there is a return line. So that has to return somehow and circulate, I suppose. So we'll figure that out. But I have the belts on the engine, so that's good to go. Alternator's good to go. So if I ever hooked up the battery, it'll rock and roll. Minus the power steering part. That right there is still kind of an electrical loose end, I guess you could say. I need to really kind of get rid of that stuff, making sure that it doesn't have any open circuits or any nonsense like that. That's something you got to make sure before we kind of finish tying this up. So that will be probably something I will do while I wait for plumbing parts to come in. So yeah, basically that's what we're going to be. That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be just trying to figure out the electrical side of things to start gutting it, getting rid of it, while we wait for a supply line, some sort of T to the supply line, and then I need some kind of 90-degree fitting that will help do a connection to the pressurized side of the pump. So that's pretty much it. All right, so we're back at it. Got the power steering reservoir on. Amazon has graced us with our hose that we were waiting to come in. So now I've just got this off the vise and all hooked up. So let's go ahead and tighten this down. All right, so let's go ahead and reconnect the battery, or put ground on at least. We don't need to slam this, but close that. Got power. All right, so we got our power steering pump and everything installed. Done deal. Whoop. All right. You can hear it. It's got air in the system, but it is working flawlessly. Well, that might just have been it for Project PrimerBlue. We accomplished what we said we were going to accomplish when we took on the project of getting Project PrimerBlue in a better driving state, closer driving state, at least getting it on the road and things like that, because it needed the power brakes, needed the power system, power steering. It wasn't getting that. We fixed the air intake, we gave it a catch can, we fixed the battery relocation, we swapped the transmission, we did a clutch drop, we did so much to that car. And you know what? We finally kind of completed it. So I think at this point we might go ahead and send it down the road, let the owner take the car, see if he wants to enjoy it for a little bit, or take it along to the next step of its restoration journey. Paint, body, wiring, audio, interior, whatever he needs to do. I was the guy who was just facilitating the wacky and crazy coyote swap stuff to get the coyote swap kind of working. That was my part that I played in that whole grand scheme. So I hope you guys enjoyed Project PrimerBlue. If you have any other questions, you can leave them down in the comment below. Make sure you hit the like button, and as always, if you're new here, why don't you think of subscribing, and I will see you guys later.